Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal Round Table. I'm your host, and with me, as always, is my main man, Sal.
How's it going, everybody? I'm happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Now, as you know, Sal does not like to use his full name.
It's easier to say Sal. It just rolls off the tongue. You know how that
mess with
goes.
you about that. Because like I told people before, I like to call him Mondo. He doesn't like that. So
Sal rolls off the tongue so easy, you know.
And so does Mondo, but that is an opinion. It's not a fact. Okay.
You know, it's a preference.
It's a preference.
It's a preference from my friends and family. You know, my Army brothers call me Sal. It was just easy, yeah. You know, and the family, Mondo's, but Sal is so much easier. You know, just gets out.
So I'm not
quick.
Family now. No,
not even a little bit.
No?
That's what I'm saying. It's choice, man. It's
not a family
choice.
member. All right, I get it. I see how you see me. I see it. All right.
I see you as Wolf.
Hey, everybody does, brother. Hey, so let's get into this. Let's get down to business. The last episode we left off, the last thing we talked about was gargoyles, but the interview.
The house, man.
The house. The house. That was my brother. You interviewed.
Diablo. I mean,
about that.
This house, I can only imagine what you went through. And we hear about people having these experiences like this all the time, and you hear about them, and that, you know, you're like, wow, that's crazy, man. But you were experiencing them things.
It happened to
For me,
to
this
us.
thing,
Yeah.
I'm talking to a guy that it happened to. I mean, that takes it to a whole nother level. So, I mean, I'm at a loss for words. There's just no way. I'm definitely blown away.
Well.
The wheels were turning. Like I told you, I've been having a hard time sleeping after hearing all this stuff. And then the guys came on and
A lot to process.
corroborated. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and you, of course,
amazing.
being able to talk, you know, in depth with everybody. Let me plug the email real fast. daswolfman88@gmail.com. That is my email. DASWOLFMAN88@gmail.com. Send me a message. Give me your story. I have a lot of stories that I've collected. Every time I've gone on a show, I've always gotten inundated with messages and stories. And speaking of which, one of the things I wanted to touch on before we get any further into the show was the Wendigo Rake debate. Because
that's
I am still, you know, here weeks after being on Dogman encounters, I'm still getting this debate. They're saying it's a Rake, it's a Wendigo. Folks, I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to lay it down for you. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
All right. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't know what a Rake is. When I went on to the show, I
know what a rake is. It's a garden.
Yeah, it's something that you use to
it's a garden tool, you know,
to clean up your yard. I am not an old guy, but I'm not a young guy, and so I got some young people saying it's a rake, and I'm like, okay, I think I've heard of that, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Right.
So what I did was I did a little research, of course, and I found out that it was that rake name is actually the name of what could be an actual creature. The name Rake is some sort of creepypasta name.
Yeah,
but I've never seen that show or anything, so I don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
all I know is that's where that name came from. But the people that I've talked to about this creature, they don't know what it's called. They didn't know what it was called or had a name for it.
Except the Native Americans.
The Native Americans, yes. And I have two or three
friends
of them that I'm friends with, and that actually, one that I'm personal friends with, two, I should say, personal friends with, and then three that I'm friends with through social media. And I was confronted by them, not confronted like, hey, man, but
they asked you about
they came to me and they said, hey, Wolf, do you know what that is? It sounds like a Wendigo.
Wow.
Now, one of my friends that's Native American, he is not from the north, but he's married to a female that is.
Oh, his wife is?
Yeah, she's Menominee, and so she said that sounded like a Wendigo. And I talked to my other friend who's Chippewa Indian, and he said that that's a Wendigo.
Yeah,
a white, sort of translucent creature with the skinny arms that looks like it needs to eat more protein and work out.
Definitely
needs to do some sort of like working out. Did a little too much, I think, on the treadmill.
Definitely a lot of cardio, not enough weight. Not enough,
not enough weight.
But all in all, man, it sounds like, as far as the name's concerned, I'm of the position with the Native Americans that it's a Wendigo. But as far as naming it, I would say it's just a generational thing. The young kids, they listen to the creepypasta stuff. I didn't even know for the longest time what creepypasta meant until my 17-year-old daughter explained it to me.
You also enlightened me. My nephew kind of enlightened me, and I was like, okay. I did not. I actually...
So depending on what generation
I had heard of it over and over again. Just like I had heard the name.
Yeah.
Creepypasta. But the only thing I knew about it was that it was a show. And for some reason, I had this idea in my mind that it was like a cartoon kind of thing.
I'll be honest. I thought it was some kind of dish that you shouldn't eat because it's going to creep you out.
Creepypasta. You're going in there and you're eating the creepypasta. It's like the antipasta, but you're eating the creepy one.
Yeah, it's something you do on Halloween maybe. Eat the creepypasta. I don't know. But no, it's like I said, I think it's a generational thing. Younger people will call it
absolutely
the Rake.
So what we're talking about here is this Wendigo creature. I'm going to do a brief rundown of what I was told by two different people that I think are a little better authority on it than I am. It is a creature of myth, but myths are grounded in some fact.
There is a kernel of truth in all that myth.
There is a kernel of truth to that. So what they believe is that this creature is a cannibal type creature, that it was a man at one time, and it gave itself over to the darkness. However, they achieved it through black magic, ritual ceremony, or through just sheer, just whatever, evil. But it is akin to the Skinwalker.
Yes.
Excuse me. Now, the Skinwalker is a different legend.
Yes, strictly Navajo
It is
Nation.
a different legend, and I do believe that is further south.
Southwest,
Navajo
Nation.
Southwest, Navajo. But this creature tends to be a northwest to Midwest.
Yeah, or further up in the further you
Canada,
go north.
even,
even
that
Canada,
was one of the things that I was hearing was that it was. So what this creature does, I guess, it lives in the woods and will devour you if you go out there
or
and
anything that gets in its way,
It
basically.
mad. Yeah. That's all I know. And so I don't have that problem because I'm not tromping around in the woods up in the whatever.
Yeah, well, I get out there every chance I get.
You go out there because you're crazy. That's the fool. That's what I've been told. That's the rumor.
It's not the first
That's
time.
just the rumor. That's alleged that he's crazy, folks.
I'll just
really
say
know.
no comment to that one. I will not, plead the fifth on that one.
That's the rumor. I've heard things. I've heard you're a crazy man.
You know a guy that knows a guy that told you all about me? It's not true.
It's not true.
Yeah. If you don't have video or picture or sound, it wasn't true.
Well,
it never happened.
Like that little jerk Deion Sanders once said. He said that if there's no laundry on the field, I didn't pass interfere. 1994 NFC Championship. He was holding Michael Irvin's arms behind his back. That's all I'm going to say. I'm a Cowboys fan. If you don't like it, I apologize. Not because the Cowboys are the greatest football team ever, and we get screwed on a regular basis. But I will say this. Whatever your team is, it doesn't matter. You're all welcome here at the Paranormal Round Table.
Yes.
And you're welcome to, get a hold of us and say, hey, it was a rake, it was a shovel, it was a tool, it was a creature from the Black Lagoon. We don't know. It's whatever you want to say it is and want to believe it is. That's what it is. Perception is whatever your perception is, and we will accept it because that's fine.
Your own conclusion.
We don't pass judgment. What we do though is tell stories, and I got some stories.
Hey,
now, okay, the way we do the show,
Wendigo stories or something.
I got a story. I've heard some things. I've heard things. Look, here's what I got. Now, what we do on the show here is Armando likes to talk. Sal likes to fact check some of my stuff, kind of like going back and harass my witnesses and make threats. I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
He doesn't do that. No, what he likes to do, though, is kind of say, hey, what are we talking about today? And I'll tell him briefly that we're going to hit this topic. And what you do is kind of go in blind, actually, and you listen to the stories. So a lot of times these stories, you're hearing them for the first time.
Oh, yeah. That's actually about 80%.
But some of them, though,
you
are in on them. But I have a couple for you today that you aren't privy to.
Until now.
Until today.
Hey, I'm ready for this. This is definitely Christmas coming early. There we go.
So you do know one of the Dogman stories, but I will tell another one. You do know the truck driver.
As soon as you start, the one about the truck driver, I love that one. You got to tell that one.
Yeah.
That was really, when you listen to that, I wouldn't want to be the truck driver. I'll just tell you that.
You know what? If you go back to the archives of Vic's show, and I always reference that because I was on that show so many times, I don't know what episode it was, but I got inundated with messages about that from that guy up in Quebec in Canada.
Oh, wow.
The timber people that were doing the
loggers?
The loggers, yeah. And the thing that climbed up onto the truck.
Oh, yeah, while they were sleeping.
And his friends were asleep, and they were like, and this thing was trying to get in, frantically trying to get in, trying to pull the window down. That's kind of what this one sounded like.
Similar, yeah, definitely
very similar. Very similar.
Well, hey, man, share it with us. Let's
get started. We'll get started on that. And like I said, if anybody has a story, I'm going to plug my email one more time, daswolfman88@gmail.com. Give me all you got.
Yeah, send the stories in.
Like Al Pacino.
We'll get to them as fast as we can.
Give me all you got. I'll take it. Now, I did get a little feedback about my voice. Somebody sent me an email and said that my voice was very plain. So I was thinking.
To each their own, brother.
So today I'm going to do the stories in the voice of Optimus Prime.
Oh, hey.
No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I apologize if you don't like my voice. I'm sorry. It's so plain. But anyways, we're going to get into this story. The first one we're going to talk about now, this guy.
The truck driver, right?
The truck driver.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a good one.
Now, he's actually Native American. I got it from his nephew, who wasn't actually technically related to him, but he said he's like my uncle, and he told him this scary story.
Definitely a father figure in his life.
Yeah, definitely somebody that he feels strongly. This person told him the story. He gave it to me. Now, he was driving a truck, a big truck, and what he did was in New Mexico on the way home. I should just start with he was on his way home from his,
dropping off the load.
Yeah, but he still had the trailer because it was just he dropped off the goods and he was heading back.
Empty trailer,
empty trailer, and he pulled into, for all intents and purposes, what sounds like an abandoned area.
I think if I remember correctly,
a truck stop there.
That was no longer working. So
defunct truck stop.
Yeah, you can imagine
that people would pull into because the next station or whatever,
rest stop
is So instead of going to the next station or whatever, the next rest stop, and I'm actually kind of just throwing that in there because he just said instead of going to the next
town or wherever he was going,
next place over.
I guess judging from the story,
it's a place where truckers pull in.
A big time. It's a truck stop. I mean, for all intents. But the one he stops at was no longer working. Just the parking lot was there, right? That's what I understood from the story. But I don't want to tear it up for you. You do it, man.
So, anyways, this guy pulls in, and he had a dog with him. As the story went, he had a red bone hound, and we talked about that. I don't even know what that is.
I love Kentucky red bones.
Apparently, Armando knows what that is. I don't know what a red bone hound is, but he said he had a hound with him that always traveled with him, and that it was in the cab, and he was asleep. So what happened was he heard noise, like a howling noise, coming from one side of the property. And it actually woke him up because the dog began to whine as he heard this howling. When he wakes up from the dog whining and the howling, he wakes up. The dog is kind of uncomfortable, freaking out. He thought at first the dog wanted to use the restroom, and then he heard the howling and he realized that whatever that was making the dog uncomfortable.
Yeah, Fido don't want to use the bathroom.
So he sat there for a minute thinking, that howling was very unsettling. He feels something bump his truck about a minute after the initial hearing of the howling.
Oh, wow.
And the trailer, it kind of shook it. And now he said there was no wind because I did message the guy back, and he got back and we went back and forth, and he said that there was no real wind that could have made it happen. So the man gets out of his cab with a pistol. He did carry a pistol.
Well,
and
a lot of truckers do.
A lot of truckers do. Some don't because they can get in trouble. But as far as I understand that. But I mean, anyway, the guy goes to the back of the truck and sees that the truck is still closed. Then he hears this snarling type sound on the other side of the trailer, and then he books himself back into the cab. So and he gets in the truck and he starts it up, and he's getting ready to leave. And then this thing, the way he described it, a wolf-headed type creature, that was the exact way he worded it, jumps onto the passenger side, and the window is just rolled down a little bit, and it starts to put its fingers through the window, starts to push it down, and it's got its head right up against the glass. And he said that it was a terrifying looking creature, but when I asked for a detail, he went back and he asked his uncle, whatever, and told him that it wasn't like snapping and barking and growling. It was just staring at him with its mouth kind of hanging open.
Right.
And he said that it was gray, and in the moonlight, it was grayish white. There was white and gray fur.
That's really interesting. But when you think about the area that this happened to him at, I mean, the coyotes are generally in that area in the Southwest, the New Mexico area, West Texas, all this stuff. Coyotes are generally that grayish color like you're talking about. When I was, in the military, and we'd go out train out at the National Training Center near Fort Irwin, California. Lots of desert out there. We'd see the coyotes always run around the trash, and the color you just mentioned, that's exactly what they were.
That color. Well, this individual is Native American, okay, and did say that from Arizona, he's Native American, and did say that he believed that was a skinwalker. Now, I asked his this guy if why he thought that, but he said when he was pulling out, the thing didn't get off the truck right away. Like, he got onto the road before it jumped off of the truck and let go.
Whoa.
But he said that he saw it in the mirror and that it had wolf legs. The legs did look, I guess, as you would say, lupine. That's my word.
Yeah.
And the upper body was, but he said that it was kind of thin, and it was about 7 foot tall. He would estimate.
Yeah, that sounds.
That's what I guess. That's why him being Native American, his instant thought was skinwalker.
Yeah, I mean,
but I don't think that was a skinwalker. I think it was a dogman.
Now, judging by the description, I would be inclined to say that sounded like a dogman, possibly a juvenile, just because, you have all these people that have the experiences with these big 8 to 9 footers. And so when you're talking about one 6.5, 7 feet tall, a full grown one, if you say the average is 8 to 9 feet for a full grown male.
Now, I will say this, and not to disagree with you, but I don't remember many stories, especially in Texas. But this wasn't in Texas. Yeah. But in Texas, in specifically, getting more than 7.5, 8 feet.
Really?
Most of the ones around here I've heard, except for the one that we got from Ernest.
Yes.
That we talked about on Dogman Encounters 247. Yeah, where he claimed that there was a between 10 to 12 foot alpha male.
But that was the alpha. He's the big dog, for lack of better words.
I would imagine that there would be, but most of the pack would probably be smaller.
Yeah, because he's the big dog. So my guess, but I would still say juvenile, possibly very young adult, just kind of grown into it, but hasn't really filled out.
That's why it's not real big.
Yeah, but still, that's...
Now there's a debate in the Dogman community also. I hear this all the time. I try to stay out of it. I do. I try to stay out of all the conflict, but I do hear that there's people that believe that the Dogman, there is a debate, I guess you should say, whether there's government-created ones that have these big, oversized heads that they call fat heads.
Yes.
And then there's what they call a gungwi, which is like they have normal human-sized legs, and it almost looks like a cross between a...
kind of like a baboon.
A Bigfoot.
Gives you the...
Well, now there's now after that show, right. I did get some feedback about the Dinopithecus. I think it was called.
The Gigantopithecus.
No. Dinopithecus is something else. It's a giant baboon.
That's the first time I've heard that word.
Yeah, it's on my Facebook. Go look it up. You're not doing your research. I'm just kidding.
Oh, no, I don't do social media hardly at all.
I'm just messing with it.
It's too irritating.
No. There is somebody on there that posted that about the Dinopithecus.
I'm going to have to check it out.
Check it out. It's a giant baboon because the story out of Mason County.
Whoa. Our Mason County is this Dinopithecus. You have it.
Our Mason County. We don't own Mason County.
Well, Texas. We're Texans,
Yeah,
but
fool. Where you been, fool? Yeah,
I just made the connection because the Dogman story from Mason County. I thought
we're talking about Vic's show.
That story.
On 247 Dogman Encounters.
Yeah, I heard that one, but this dino.
Somebody that
that's a new angle
posted
for me,
on my
man.
Facebook the picture of the Dinopithecus as opposed to the size of a human being.
I just had to put this. I need the link.
Okay, yeah. And so somebody posted the picture, and this thing was like 7 foot tall. And I'm talking like hunched over. It was 7 foot tall. Yeah. Oh. But the thing is, those creatures don't appear to be comfortable running on 2 legs. Like this thing seemed to have gotten up and moved on 2 legs a little better.
Wow. I've got to check it out. So again, I need the link, brother. And with that said, let's get to the next story, man.
There's so many weird things out there.
Yeah. Well, you do know that there's like
Shakespeare was
supposedly
more things that are heaven and earth that we could possibly know.
Yeah. He said that. And you're paraphrasing, of course, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not going to.
All right, man. Hey, let's get into the next story, man.
Horatio. Now we're not going to get into it. Anyways. Yeah. So one thing I was going to say, I have another Dogman story for you, and this one I haven't told you.
Oh,
you don't
okay.
know the
I
story.
am ready.
Not even a little bit of it. And it wasn't a huge, long encounter. There were two of them I wanted to go through real quick that I got. One guy lives up in Michigan. And everybody knows Michigan Dogman is.
Yeah, there's a lot of sightings and some
a lot of
reports
stuff up there in the Michigan. Dogman guy said that he was getting ready for work, walked outside, going to his truck. It was early spring. It was still cold.
Yeah, well, up there.
And he sees this creature, what looks like behind his truck, squatting, what he thought was a giant dog or wolf using number 2.
Hey,
and so
dropping off a special package.
he thought that it was he was like, wow, that's a big dog. He sees the snout sticking out from the back of the truck. He walks up and this thing pops up, stands up.
Yeah.
And just stands there looking at him. And he said it was about 6.5 feet tall, which makes me think that maybe it wasn't fully grown.
Possibly, yeah. I would be of the position that it's a juvenile
Dogman, and that this thing was just stood there looking at him. He could see its breath coming off of it. He knew it wasn't an illusion or a spirit or anything. It was a real flesh and blood creature, and he backed away, and this thing got down on all fours and ran the opposite direction from behind his truck. And
I would too. I mean, this thing.
And then he waited until daylight because he said it was early in the morning. I should have said that it was early in the morning and it was still dark. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. And described it, said it was grayish brown.
Wow.
With a white looking face.
That right there. I mean, I would have done exactly what he did. I'd have slowly walked up. I would have probably, had a Charmin moment and walked back in the house like he did.
I asked him about the scat, and he said that he didn't see anything. He did not. He looked. He did not see it.
Wow. It sounds like it was possibly heard him moving around his house.
And this was out in the country. He said about 2 miles outside of town.
Oh, wow. He's.
So, yeah. And so that story there was I thought I'd throw that one in there. And then I got another one that was in Louisiana, home of the Lougarou, or Rougarou as the Cajuns call it.
Rougarou gonna get you.
Yeah, all that stuff. Rougarou gonna get you. Now all that stuff. And I love Louisiana. I got lots of friends there in the land of crawfish, boils, and alligators. I go there regularly. I like to go to Louisiana. It's not real far from here, but I like to go to Oklahoma too.
Yeah, that's
I like to go to New Mexico. I like all the states around us.
Surround us here in Texas.
Yeah, I wish they could all be annexed into Texas and just become
one big
Texahoma, Kansas,
all that. Yeah,
Louisiana.
Oh,
that'd be awesome.
I got a name.
New
for
Texaco.
I got a name for that. It would just be New Texas.
New Texas. There you go, New Texas. So if you're from Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, or Louisiana, you now belong to us. Just letting you know.
Well,
we have adopted you. You're now part of the New Texas Empire. So anyway. The one thing I was going to tell you about this encounter, though, it was another truck driver, and it was in the land of the Lougarou, and it was, I have about 4 different times I've heard this before. One of them, my own grandfather and grandmother.
Yeah, you've told that story on Vic's show.
I told that on Vic's show, that they saw something on the side of the road that looked...
Well, yeah, it's heavily wooded.
This guy was driving near Baton Rouge.
Oh, Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge, and he saw... what looked like a hyena-looking man is the way he wrote it.
Hyena-looking?
And that it was like pulling something like roadkill, what looked like roadkill, a carcass, from the edge of the road into the woods. And that it, when from a distance, he looked like it was down over it, but maybe the headlights were disturbing it, so it stood up and pulled it into the swampy area and was gone.
Wow,
he saw that, and he said that he was with another person in the truck, and they both saw it.
Whoa,
and it looked like a hyena. He actually said that he could see spots, what he thought were spots on this thing.
Oh, that's...
So what do you make of that? I don't know. He said it had a short snout.
There have been reports. I've listened to a lot of YouTube videos with encounters and stuff, and some people have reported some of these. They're Dogman encounters. Of course, that's what they get classified as. But, it's I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, let's think about it. We've got all different kind of breeds of dogs, some with short snouts, some with long snouts, So,
well, you know what? One thing I still haven't
not the
seen
Dogman?
or heard of at all, ever, not even once, is a werepoodle or a Dogman that looks like a poodle or that has a poodle style haircut. I'm still waiting on that. But,
well,
and that's not making light of anybody's encounters, folks.
No, we're
the
not.
people that sent me these encounters, I don't want them to think that I'm jesting.
No, we are not making fun of
We
them.
are not making fun of you. I've seen one of these creatures. If this is your first time tuning in, I was 15 years old. I saw one, and I can tell you right now, it's not when you're up close like I was.
It's not pleasant.
It wasn't a pleasant thing, and so I would much rather have been up in a big truck that I could
passing by
skedaddle from. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but, if somebody sees one and they send you something that say that hey, that's awesome. I'm just blessed in the way that I'm glad, I should say, that people heard me on Vic's show and that they're comfortable giving me these stories because I appreciate it. Please keep them coming. I'll sift through as many as I can. Now, a lot of people don't realize I was ill back in November, December, and I had some problems with my health, and so I lost some of my material that I had gotten. With people were sending me stuff, and so I've been frantically messaging people over the last 2 or 3 months, getting them to send me their stuff, and it's been good because I've gotten people say, "Hey, I didn't have an encounter, but I know somebody who did."
Oh wow!
And sometimes you got to go through 2 or 3 people, but I'll get to it.
Oh yeah!
I'm like that bloodhound. I'll sniff out that story.
Hey, that red bone, you bet.
I'll sniff out that Dogman.
No, that's it. Well, you mentioned, you're asking me if I'd ever heard anything about hyenas, and this is a story I got from a friend of mine.
A hyena dog?
Yeah, a hyena-like dog story. And when
Dogman or dog?
Dogman. Well, the way he phrased it, he just said hyena. Now, I was already listening to Dogman encounters, and I'd heard a lot of them. I'd heard your show and everything. And he just told it to me, but he framed it.
Sure he's not? Is he from Texas?
Yeah, he's from Texas.
You're sure he's not talking about a hyena?
No. He's a good old,
that's a different
small town country boy.
I mean,
but his story, anyways, he received several accounts from people that he knew because he used to live up near the Abilene, Texas area.
Oh yeah, I used to live out of Haskell. I did a story on Big Show about
wide
the Haskell
open out
Rascal.
there. It's rural, so a lot of people don't realize that Texas is diverse and the regions. But out there, you're basically at the doorway to West Texas. It's like the doorway to West Texas.
That is Northwest Texas, folks, but it is
more or less.
Everything west of there gradually becomes more and more desert.
Yes, it does. Well, to get to the stories.
Nothing, but over here where we're from, it's woods.
Yeah, we're in the
woods.
Scenery changes the further you go east. But to get to the story, it was very short, very brief, and we were just discussing fishing, the normal stuff, small town country boys talk about.
So what happened? Tell me this because I'm
the story is
that
he had been telling me that I live up in this area near the Abilene, and he said, I've had people that I know, tell me that they've seen hyenas, what look like hyenas, running alongside
hyena
them.
Animals? Like they're
Well, that was the best. That was the
like
best.
A zoo. You go to a zoo and see an African hyena?
That's the way he made it sound, yes.
My gosh.
But I was thinking.
Near Abilene?
Yeah. But I'm thinking this was in the rural areas because he lived outside of the town. The only thing that came to mind to me is I know if there was a loose hyena from the zoo, that would have been out on the news, because it's an animal from the zoo, got loose, warned the public. But I researched to see if there had been any type of hyenas gotten loose from the zoo up there, and nothing. I found nothing in the newspapers, going back as far as I could go, nothing found. And so the only thing that came to mind, I didn't mention anything to him. I didn't say anything other than like, oh, wow, that is really amazing. That's just mind-boggling. That was my answer. But the only thing I could think of was, could this have been one of those hyena-looking dogmen? Because he said the people said it was big. They could see its back over the doors of their trucks. The back would be about even with the window. Yeah.
That sounds like a prehistoric animal because, I know that because of the Bering Strait that there were animals that faded out during the Pleistocene era.
Right.
And we still to this day get reports of these giant, because hyenas did live in this area during the Pleistocene era. And so I believe that's correct. And so they shared the territory with dire wolves and saber-toothed cats.
I leave it up for debate. I would lean personally. I would lean more to the hyena-looking Dogman because the story you
did they
just
ever
got,
see them go on two legs though? That's how you know.
No, he didn't ever state any of that.
Because I get lots of reports, Sal, of animals that are big, giant wolf-like creatures. There was a girl up in Massachusetts that sent me a story. I interviewed her, and it was massive, big, and it was up on, but it never got on two legs.
It was on all fours.
Yeah, it was on all fours, and it got up as high up as over the hood of their truck or whatever.
Wow.
So that was crazy.
Well, there's
story,
that video
but
on YouTube.
I never got around to her ever. She never could tell me that it was on two legs, which doesn't really. To me, that qualifies it as being a dog man and not just a giant dog or just wolf in general.
You know that I would say the jury is still out on that. I would be inclined to lean your way that it's a dog.
Giant hyenas running around. There's enough. I think we talked on a previous show about giant cats.
Yeah, the Black Panthers.
The Black
also.
Panthers, and now those are in Central Texas and down in East Texas. They're real. There's a bunch of them, and we've heard stories all the time.
If you think about the hill country, I mean, you don't have people traipsing up and down the hill country all the time, every day. You know, I've got family members that 3 of them, they're brothers, and they swore up and down to me they saw a Black Panther out near where their uncle lives.
Where's this at?
This is in up near Comanche County.
Oh, Comanche County, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's rural out there.
That's further north, too, from here.
Yeah, about 2 hours north.
2 hours, yeah. I would say. But now, I got a story. That's funny because near Hamilton.
Yes.
Near Hamilton, I have had a story, and if I remember correctly, there was somebody that I had a weird, creepy skinwalker type story near Waxahachie.
Oh, wow.
Near Waxahachie, and that whole, and I don't know what to make of that. It was like, I can get into that one day. I got that one, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about it, then we'll throw it at you folks on another show. But right now, that story near Hamilton, the guy was hog hunting because if anybody knows, here in Texas, everywhere you go, there's hogs.
We got feral hogs.
They're horrible. What they are these monstrosities that they've bred with.
The javelinas.
Yeah,
some
the
Russian
razorbacks.
boars,
and so in Arkansas, they call them razorbacks. Here we call them javelinas. They're a little bit different, you know. But the domesticated pig gets out and it does what it does. It breeds with these other hogs, and they just become a nuisance. So this guy's out there bow hunting.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Bow hunting a hog
normal.
is a dangerous.
Yes, it is, especially with those big old tusks.
That is a dangerous thing. And so, but anyway. He found something wholly different. He did not find that. What he found was what we were talking about, a black cat.
Oh, wow.
And he was up in a tree stand and was going to try to...
He was trying to get a shot on it?
He was going to try... No, not a shot on a cat, but he was trying to get... He was looking for hogs and was going to try and see what he could do.
Uh-huh.
And that, too, is an art in of itself.
Yes,
it is. To get down there and shoot with a bow. I tell you what, I've shot at hogs in Lockhart off of a porch of a friend of mine. There's so many of them out there you could just shoot at his aunt's place. But it's a dangerous proposition, folks, especially a big boar if it's angry and they're very smart too, believe it or not.
If you wound them,
they will come at you. So this guy, luckily, he was going to get up in the tree and just nail it with arrows, but still dangerous. He sees this black, shadowy looking thing come out of the corner of his eye. And the next thing you know, something's clawed the tree and climbing up it, quickly moving toward his tree stand. He leans over the side. He sees, he didn't say it was great size, huge cat. He just said that it was black, solid black cat.
Wow.
And he looked right at it and it looked at him and I think that it was maybe trying to surprise him, trying to get to him pretty quick. But he went over the side and when he leveled his bow at it, he had a clean shot right at its head, and it just kind of stopped, looked at him, looked down at the ground, and kind of judged, He told me the story face to face, this is a friend of mine. And so he said that the cat jumped down and disappeared, and he was like, holy crap, that was a black, solid black. He said that it was probably a little larger than what, you would see our cougars are out here. Yeah. We have cougars around here. They're all over.
Cougars, mountain lions, whatever you want to call them.
But he said it was probably bigger than a male cougar would be. He's seen a cougar, too, out there before, but not like that. Now, folks, what this cat is to me, if it's not one of these oversized ones that I hear around near Hoxie, this area that I was talking about the other day, those I think they're black panthers, I guess you could say, but they're some sort of mutant. Okay. But there are black jaguars, and jaguars have been known to come this far north.
Yes, they
to
have
Central
been.
Texas, and it's not unheard of for them to be seen. And so what these things are is solid, the melanin, I guess, in their, whatever it is, the fur or whatever, if that's the right word, melanin, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
the pigment or whatever, it makes them solid black. But if you look at them real close, there's like actually spotting on them, but it's just real faint and it's black. But those are jaguars. Jaguar is the third largest cat in the world behind a tiger. The tiger is the largest, then the second is a lion. The third is a jaguar. Jaguar is the third largest cat. So that's why I think what he saw was a jaguar, and then I think that it was bigger than the average cougar. That's why he said that.
The reports of black cats in Texas, as far as I've known, I grew up around Comanche County, Brown County here in Texas, and reports of big black cats, i.e., that's how everybody calls them, black panthers. That's the normal verbiage used to describe those. I've heard of those for the longest time.
I've heard of them since I was a child.
Yeah, it's for when you talk to the normal, you talk to any normal country person around these small rural areas, and you reference Black Panther, you're probably gonna find somebody that's got their own Black Panther story.
Now, I got a Panther. Possible Panther Dogman story, if you want to hear it.
Oh yeah.
A friend of mine lives out in a small town outside of my hometown. I don't even want to give that. People go running out there and messing with it. But I was out there one night with my wife, and we were listening to what my friend believes were these Dogman creatures.
Oh, interesting.
People from where I'm from, they don't call them Dogman. They don't know what the heck a Dogman is. They say wolves, and they call them mutant wolves, just like they talk about the Panthers. They call them mutant Panthers. They don't know what they are. Yeah, but he said that these creatures that run around on two legs, they can get on two legs, as he said, that they're wolves. And I've talked to him about 4 or 5 years ago about this. And then about 1.5 to 2 years ago, I went out there when me and my wife first started seeing each other. I took her out there, and we were out there listening. And he told me, now I didn't hear the roaring, whatever, the cat, but he said that on several occasions he heard a roar. If anybody could hear that, I'll do it again. Roar. I'm just kidding. I don't know how it sounded. He tried to give me like the best.
He tried to mimic it.
And it wasn't very, and I'm not forthcoming with it either. But yeah, my cat impression is terrible. But anyways, this thing roared, and he said it sounded, because he said it when it bounces out of that hollow there, that it sounded like a woman screaming like a roar, And then he said he heard what I heard when I was out there, which I believe was dogmen howling,
yes,
and signaling one another. Now I didn't hear the cat when I was out there, but I did hear 2 or 3 dogmen, what I believe was going back and forth. And I described it to 2 or 3 dogman researchers that told me that is absolutely what they think it was. When I described it to them,
from what they've experienced,
it was not. We tried to get some audio from it, but it was too far away. But we could hear it, and you could hear them in the woods, and they were going back and forth. And this guy claims that he heard a panther. That's what he thinks it was.
Oh wow.
His wife claimed to have seen a panther in that area, one of these big mutant panthers, and she said that they think that they're fighting over the territory over there.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It was roaring with that screeching roar that it does, but it's just, he said that he and she both said that it was louder than what you would normally hear, like a normal panther or cat is a normal size one.
Yes,
and that the dogman creatures were yelling back. And that this went on for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, and was supposed to get me some audio, but when we listened to the audio, it was real faint,
Yeah.
I couldn't really make it out, but I mean, it is what it is. He's a country boy. He drives an old Ford. And that right there tells you everything about. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a Chevy guy, but you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to get in the Ford Chevy debate. If you want to drive around in an aluminum can, that's up to you. But anyway, he drives an old Ford, and he doesn't have like high tech equipment to go out there and be like, oh, I heard that.
Yeah, it's not his thing.
It's not his thing at all. And so he heard this, and he was cool enough to tell me, hey, Wolf, if you want to check it out one day. So I did. And I appreciate that you doing that for me. And so, anyways, we listened, and it was pretty crazy, dude. Like I heard you're gonna have to take me out there sometime. Yeah, and so it's crazy. And then I have a cousin that doesn't live too far down past that, and of course I talked about him on one of Vic's shows and some of the problems they had with the cattle and some stuff going on. But anyways, that whole region right there, but they claim that there are Panthers there too that are large, very large. I have gotten 2 or 3 reports out of these things. And I do have, I don't know if we have time. Let me see my time guy here.
The director here.
Let me see what we got. Okay, so we got time. I'm going to tell you this story. I don't want to get too far out there, but I got 2 cat people stories if you want to get into that.
Cat people, that's a new twist.
Oh, yeah. Now, I'm not talking about a lady that lives alone that has 50 cats. I'm talking about
crazy cat lady.
I'm not talking about the crazy cat lady that everybody knows in their neighborhood. What I'm talking about is cat people that actually can stand up on 2 legs and walk around. And I'm not going to sit up here and sensationalize it because this is an underworld. I'm not going to say that these cat people are out there fighting the dog people and they're killing each other. I'm just saying that they do share a territory or an adjacent territory. That is what I've been told. And kind of what I figured with my own, kind of coming up with my own thoughts about this.
Yeah.
Now, in that same area, it's probably 15, 20 miles from that spot. I'm not even going to give the spot because then everybody will go, that whole region right there, folks. I got a story from someone. They were driving back through a county road. I talked to this person face to face. This was probably 5 or 6 years ago, before I ever even started doing the shows. Yeah, and they told me, they looked at me dead in the eye. And they said, "Wolf, this panther, black, solid cat, leaped across the road. When it got across the road on this county road that they were on, okay, it stood up on 2 legs, pushed brush out of its way, and then went like, Yeah, like it had arms, human arms, and that the ears, though, were a little more cropped looking, the way they described it. And I kept pushing. I was like, "Are you sure it wasn't like canine?" He goes, No. And he had a friend with him, and that friend wasn't there at that time. This was at a catfish fry or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And he said, no, absolutely not. He goes, this was a cat that jumped across the road, and it stood up on 2 legs. He said, I was going about 30, those winding curves out there.
Can't go too fast on.
So that was a story that he gave me, and I was like, wow. And I was perplexed because black, solid black, and feline,
Well, the only question that comes to mind for me is, did he get a look at the tail?
Tail, yes, absolutely. That is a good, thank you for bringing that up. That was one of the focal points that I asked him. I was like, later on, we're talking, and I said, look, did you see the tail? And I like I said, later on, I went back, and I asked him again, and I said, look, are you sure? Because he's like, I am positive, man. And he talks like that for real.
Oh, he's a country boy.
Well, a lot of people from around here do. Folks, let me tell you something. I was raised the first 15 years of my life out in the sticks. And then I lived in the barrio after that. So if you can figure, my dad is white, my mom is brown, okay, or Hispanic.
He's got a wonderful mix of all that going on. I got a mix,
yeah. But my mom's actually very light-skinned, but she's still Hispanic. And the thing is, I have experienced the worst of both cultures. Just kidding. No, I lived out in the country, and I did, when I first came to Austin was a lot more cosmopolitan, a lot more modern than my hometown. People in my hometown are like, hey, man, and when you say, what time is it? They're like, why are you worried about that? Here in Austin, everybody's in a hurry. They're like, hey, what's up, and everybody talks like that. So I trained myself
you learn to listen,
to lose that accent. So I don't really have an accent. Now, I got a message from a guy one time, and he said, you're the only Southern host that I can listen to, or when
he can understand.
Because I go on Vic's show and he says, I like you because you don't have that Southern drawl. Now me, I you know what? I don't mind the Southern drawl. I'm from the South, and I
you're from Texas.
I'm from Texas, but I have a Southern talk. We
have a Texas drawl.
Well, Texas has a Southern to it, and
no, we're Texas.
That's what you say. I say that we're still part of the. It's Southern. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is we don't have. We have an accent. Some of us do. I'm not going to lie.
Yes, we do.
And some Texans talk very Southern
they got it
and very
heavy.
country. And so like I have over the years just kind of lost that accent.
Yes.
But as a kid, I did. And now, funny thing is, when I was real little, like little bitty, I actually spoke Spanish better than I do now.
Well, it's a matter of practicing and stuff. I lost a lot of my accent over. I lost my accent over all the time I spent in the military, meeting people from all over the country and everything.
You mean you didn't always have a Texas drawl, as you call it?
Not as bad as I got it now.
So it just wow. So you developed one later in life? That's weird.
It came back.
Oh,
I had it to begin with.
So you lost it like
while I was in the military,
pretending to be a Yankee, probably.
No,
God,
never.
Shame
never.
on you. Shame on you. I guess you know what, and I guess your favorite food is not chicken fried steak now.
No, it's just a good T-bone steak.
That's horrible. You know what? Get out of my house. Get out of my studio. I tell you what. Okay, folks, let's get back to point here. The tail of this creature, yes, was absolutely feline.
Wow.
When he described it, he was very adamant and that it was a cat, and I'm going to get back on point here. There's another story I got. Guy was in a barn, and something had taken a couple of his, I guess you call them ewes, the lambs, whatever.
The sheep.
And he had a couple of them get snatched up, and one of his brother's friends was out there helping him, guy that was his brother's best friend, I guess, and he worked for him. And he said that at first he didn't know the guy that well, so he couldn't just take what he said as the gospel truth about it, but he said, I saw a black cat snatch up one of these and scale a fence. Well, that's not unheard of.
No, it's not. They're strong enough to do that.
He said that it climbed up it with its arm, with like almost like human-like arms. Yeah.
Okay.
And now, and like I said before, I've touched on the fact that there were reports of these things when I was on Vic's show, but Vic's show focuses on Dogman.
Yeah, you can't call that a Dogman.
So we don't. No, on this show, we're gonna bring it to. I'm gonna lay it down like what it is. And this thing was a cat thing, okay, Catman or whatever. When I talked to this guy, he told me because the first guy that saw it go across the road, he said, "Dude, in this area, that's not uncommon." And he put me in touch with this guy, and then that guy put me in touch with another guy. So that's how I ended up getting 3 stories. So let me get to this one. And actually, that other story, there's more to it that I need to go back and talk to him about. So I don't want to lay that one down until I got the full 411. And so what happened was this thing snatched up a lamb and it climbed up a fence. And so the way it was described to me was like it was in its mouth and it used its arms to climb up it, but not like the paws. It was almost like hands.
Yes.
So when my friend, we'll call him Rick, when Rick heard this, he was like, what? Like this guy, like, what is this dude's deal? But, I told him, I said, Rick, haven't you heard the stories, the legends? He's like, yeah, I thought that's what they were. And I said, yeah, I thought it was all legend too until I saw Dogman when I was 15. Then I realized that these stories aren't just stories.
There's something to them.
Something to them, like you said, the kernel of truth.
Yes.
And so he said, yeah, well, I figured it out. He said, I saw this black. He said, it was broad daylight, and one of these things came that ran right through the barn from one side to the other, and that this thing literally came out the other side on 2 legs. Like he saw it, like from a distance. He was coming back up to the house, and when he saw that thing, he gunned it. He was on a 4-wheeler. Like I said, everybody has a 4-wheeler. And when he saw this thing, it went through one side of the barn and out the other on 2 legs, and then it ran for several feet on 2 legs and then down on all 4s. And it was black.
Whoa.
So you tell me.
And this is that worker that Rick.
No,
had.
This was Rick.
Rick saw it too.
Yeah, he saw it.
Whoa!
And of course, the worker said, "See, I told you. This is not. This is not a normal cat. I mean, it is odd that it's black cat anyway, but then it's a black cat that can go
on 2 legs,
on bipedal. Yeah. So that story was odd. That was weird. And then the whole that whole area being inundated with reports about that. And so. I've always known that area was spooky and weird. There's another story from that same region about a bull.
Oh,
a bull that is actually a phantom, and I will tell that story right now. This is kind of a what do you call it, like a myth or an urban legend, so to speak. But if you listen to episode 55 on Vic's show, and I'm keep referencing it because I did make a reference to this individual. I talked about his family on episode 55, I believe.
Yes.
He claimed that he was driving along and a bull. This is the only person that I've ever heard that actually saw it, eyewitnessed it. But I've had people tell me the story that in that area, same area we're talking about,
yes,
that there is a phantom bull, and that we don't know what it is. We just know that it's really, really large and that it's black, and it is a bull with big horns, and that it will come out in front of the road. It will stand in front of your vehicle. And there have been reports from people, like I said, most of it secondhand from what I've heard, my dad's generation in particular, that this thing will bow its head and swipe its horns at your car.
Oh,
And there have been several people that just were like, oh no, a bull, and they went to slam on the brakes and they go off the road trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's others that claim that they went right through it.
Oh, that's...
Now, the odd thing is that they can hear the horn and everything messing with their bumper, and then people have claimed that they've seen it go off the road and then just kind of poof, it's gone.
They can't, even if they try to look in there, they can't see
and
it.
And everyone says the same thing, that it has red eyes. No, it's solid. It looks solid.
No, I'm saying after it goes into the woods.
It doesn't go into the woods. It just walks off the road and then poof, disappears.
Oh, completely.
Like it vanishes.
Wow.
Now, this guy that told me his story, he did tell me that he drove through this thing. Like he drove through this thing, and I've known this guy since I was like 13 years old. A friend of mine's dad.
Oh my God.
And he told us, he's like, I drove right through this creature. And he's like, it was a black bull. I was like, oh no. And I tried to stop. Well, he didn't say that. He said something else, but he said, oh no, I tried to stop. And he went right through it. So you tell me what you believe, what you think. I don't know. He looked me dead in my eye and told me that story. And I'm inclined to believe him. He hasn't really told me any fantastical tales. You know, it was just
he's
a very
not
matter-of-factly guy.
Yeah.
He worked as a butcher for years.
He's not the kind of...
he would know bulls. He would know cattle.
Yes.
But he said it was a gigantic black bull. And, and I didn't ask him to specify what kind of bull he thought it was. I just know that he said it was a
big black
bovine
bull
creature, that it was in the road. He drove through it.
I find that really amazing because growing up in the country, rural areas, if there's ever a loose cow or bull out in the road, there's no one, even a 250-pound heifer or calf, anybody that drives around out there does not want to hit one of those because it'll total out your vehicle. I had a family member that did that.
It's even worse if you hit a hog. You'll automatically flip.
Yeah.
Low center of gravity, it'll send you flying.
Yes. And so, him going through it, him saying that he went through it, that's really creepy. That's wow.
Crazy. So, folks, you know what? It's been fun. Always, yeah. I enjoy.
I know we could go on all night.
We could talk some more, but now,
well, since we can't go on all night, well, I guess we better just wrap it up. And hey, man, why don't you do us a favor and throw that email out there again?
Right.
We want to hear your stories, folks.
Yes, folks, it's DasWolfman88@gmail.com. Once again, DasWolfman88@gmail.com. And I want to say something. Just because it's called Das Wolfman does not mean that I am a wolfman. I've actually been asked twice now if I'm a wolf. I'm a wolfman. And
you never know. Maybe in a former life.
Well, you never know. There was a guy that sent me and my brother a video of himself huffing and puffing, and and was like, "I'm going to turn into a werewolf." And then he leaves the screen. Nothing happened. I told that story to Vic, and Vic just thought it was funny, and we were laughing, And
yeah,
it was somebody that messaged me one day about that. You never would ever happen to that guy, and I'm like, I don't know, but I hope he's far away from me. Yeah.
Unfortunately, you didn't get it on video.
Well, there's a video of him running off the screen.
Well, that's it, but you didn't see the transformation.
So, folks, good night, good day, wherever you're at. That's all from Paranormal Round Table. Paranormal Round Table.
3 words.
3 words.
3 words.
3 words.
That'll get us. That will get us to pop up right up at the top of your search list on YouTube. And we can't say it enough. Send us your stories. We want to hear. We want to hear your encounter. And you don't want to tell it. That's great. We'll tell it. Wolf here is just a way of telling your story. And no, we're not trying to throw it out of proportion. We're going to tell your story. We're going to tell your story. So with that said, have a good night.
Sayonara.